All right. F- what the fuck, Cher? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly list update, where I run through the 10 albums I listened to over this last week. Per usual, I will link to independent artists for y'all to follow below, and let's just get right into it. Are You Enjoying Yourself by Kenny Blade. This artist actually messaged me on Twitter to tell me to check this project out. P.S. Follow me on there. I'm at my most active on that Trashfire website. I don't know why I have a problem. And this project was pretty good. The most distinguishing feature of the album for me was his voice, which at times reminded me of Chance the Rapper's famous yelping sing-song flows on many of his early tapes. There are some great bars and solid hooks throughout the album. It doesn't work on every track, and the production occasionally does leave me wanting more, but I would still recommend giving this album a listen. Of course, be sure to drop him a follow below as well. Something Came to Me by Soulchild. Right around the time I talked about her second album a few months ago, Soulchild proceeded to blow up with the fantastic single NBC, which is actively in rotation and a standout track from this project. And the new project in question continues Soulchild's brevity. And once again, the only complaint I have with this project is that I want more. Her soulful production and slick flows continue as this one woman Dreamville continues to outdo herself. Be sure to drop her a follow if you aren't already. You're going to be hearing a lot more about her soon. I'm feeling pretty confident about that. Is it selfish if we talk about me again? Casey Hill. I've been meaning to check out Casey Hill's solo work. You may recognize her from her vocal contributions to the standout Travis Scott track 90210, which I think should be more than enough of a good recommendation to check her own work out. This indie synth pop album is a spacious vibe with some ethereal vocals throughout. If you're looking for an album to vibe out to with your friends, you really can't go wrong with this. Slime in the Ice Machine by Amir Van and Merlin Wood. Now that we're in a post-Brockhampton world, I was going to be interested to not only see where its members go, but also ex-member Amir Van, who hadn't put out a body of work since Emmanuel, which was basically an EP about his separation from the group, and a lot of very uncomfortable personal stuff. This tape is short and sweet, however, showcasing a lot of chemistry that I never really noticed before between Amir and Merlin. It's a solid project. Honestly, nothing spectacular, but it's definitely worth a listen for the bangers alone. The Velvet Underground and Nico. Another classic I'm experiencing for the first time, and I actually really enjoyed this. On a lot of older albums, I have to excuse the production not being up to modern standards as a product of its time, but this is so out there at times that it doesn't sound that out of place in today's world. Heavy but occasionally tuneful and catchy, this album was a good time all the way until the very noisy end. Balloon Mind State by De La Soul. Another album into the discography of underground legends De La Soul. This album is one of the best sounding, but also the weirdest. They've picked up jazz, which is always a great addition to 90s rap, if you ask me, and there are moments here that felt like they haven't aged a day since they came out, but there are also some weird random moments that really turn me off the project. When it's good, it's great. When it's not, it's something. Also, did y'all know Biz Markie is on this? The Just a Friend guy on a De La Soul album. Who'd thunk it? Saved by Reverend Kristen Michael Hayter. So this should have been on an earlier update, and I don't know how I forgot about it, because the artist formerly known as Lingua Ignota has shed her old identity to bring us directly to church with Saved. I was very interested in this project as a Christian, don't get into arguments, myself, who really identified with her last two albums and really enjoys how she mixes religious music into her art. This album of church hymns is just as haunting and jarring as you'd expect, but also a bit of a lighter experience, and one easier to recommend, if not as grand as something like Sinner Get Ready. Haram, Armand Hammer, and The Alchemist. My first full album listening to this underground power duo, and I felt a good place to start would be their 2021 collaboration with The Alchemist. It's alright. Pretty solid bars throughout, and of course some loop-dense production, but the moments when they try to sing are kind of a drag, and dear God, that last track, whew, it's a rough one. We buy diabetic test strips, Arm & Hammer. And I followed that album up with their most recent album, and it's definitely a bit more out there, even featuring a verse and production from JPEG Mafia. The first half is solid, if a little one note, and the second half is definitely interesting, but it does also have some of the most shaky moments on the album. It's definitely a recommend for those who are a fan of artists like Earl Sweatshirt and the like. A Great Chaos by Kenny Carson. Okay. I've given the Opium Gang a chance. Outside of Whole Lot of Red, I've yet to really enjoy an album from the label. You know, I saw this album getting some positive buzz, so I figured maybe this would be the album that changed my mind. And I figured, why not? The answer to why not is because I come out of every one of these albums feeling little to nothing, which continues here. There were a few moments, though, that actually stood out, and this is honestly the best Opium album outside of Cardi I've heard yet, but I really don't have anything else to say about it. It's okay. And that is it for this week. Be sure to follow the artists I have mentioned in the first part of this video, and I will see y'all for this week's reviews. Pieces.